Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello, and that was the unmistakable sound of analog delay, or was it?
It was indeed.
Right, so what have we got? We've got, interestingly enough, the new MXR Carbon Copy Bright, which has an interesting history. Let's go back in time. Apart from the Strymon TimeLine, Daniel, what do you think of the two modern classic delay pedals?
How far back do you want to go?
I'm going to start you off with a green thing with 4 buttons on.
Line 6 DL4, classic.
Yeah, completely classic, modern delay pedal.
Yep.
And I would put the MXR Carbon Copy in there as another modern delay pedal that's come along and kind of redefined a genre, because it was not first, but it kind of re-kicked off an interest.
Do you know why? Because it's genuine analog to start with, uses old bucket brigade technology, but it was not very expensive.
And it was designed by the same guy.
It was designed by
George Trips.
George Trips.
He was the ears when they did the DL4.
Okay.
And by the time...
Oh, was he really? I didn't know DL4.
He worked on the DL4 project, yeah.
George Trips was from Way Huge back in the day, and they had a massive impact, and they had some amazing pedals.
So, original Aquapus, big hand in the DL4, big hand in the Carbon Copy, obviously a big hand in the reissue Aquapus.
A little round of applause for George Trips, what a legend.
Yeah, so he now works for Dunlop and MXR.
Right, okay.
Still owns and does Way Huge. But
right.
So, yeah, so interesting bit of history there, I think, that ties all those classic delays that we really like the sound of together. I know this because I met him a couple of years ago, and he told me those stories among many others. But so, Carbon Copy, modern classic, but what don't people like about it?
That it's very dark.
Yeah.
Well, darker, okay. It's an analog delay. It's going to be warm, but people who are used to digital delays, used to a bright sounding delay, I think that it surprised some of them that they couldn't get those really sharp repeats.
So Pro Guitar Shop in the States, who are kind of getting a bit of a reputation for working with different manufacturers, because they went to TC Electronic as well and did a version of one of their delays, went to MXR and said, right, we really love a Carbon Copy, and so do a lot of other people, but what we would really like is it to sound a bit brighter.
Right.
And away they went and they did it. And there, the marketing bump says, it sounds a bit brighter, and it bridges the gap between the sound of an analog bucket brigade device, delay, and something like a vintage tape echo.
Okay.
Because it's brighter sounding.
Right, okay.
So that's what they say. Right. So I think probably without further ado, we should just hear them back to back and see what happens next.
Okay, so let's have a look at the original Carbon Copy first. Okay, so this is just the Carbon Copy going directly into these two amplifiers.
Instantly, you just hear how dark and degraded it gets on the sound of the repeats straight away.
Bright one.
So the repeats are a little bit brighter, and I think the effect of the repeats being a little bit brighter is it sounds like they go on for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Not night and day though, is it?
No, it's not night and day. I hear a definite shelving of the bottom end on the repeats. So if I do we go from the original. To the bright one. Just poking its head through a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear it there, can't you? And I guess as you pile on distortion and things like that, that will start to come. That will get more obvious, perhaps.
Yeah. So let's do again. This is the new one. And then the original.
New one. That's quite a big difference. I don't know whether it's just me, but I think all of it sounds brighter, not just the repeats.
Okay, so...
But that's not the case.
No, so have a listen to this. So this is the bright one. And then I switch to the dark one. Now it's because the repeats are so much brighter. As that layers on top of the original sound, you have more clarity in that texture.
Yeah, interesting, because just a bead, you'd think there wasn't that much difference, but once you start putting a bit of drive on, that was a tremendous amount of difference.
Yeah.
And I think it makes much more sense about having the brighter one. So Dunlop says, MXR says that the guts are essentially the same. It's the same Bucket Brigade chips, but everything thereafter, well, not everything, the way that the repeats are EQ'd thereafter has changed. To my mind, why wouldn't you just put an EQ knob on it? But I guess it's not as simple as that.
No. So doing... sorry, when you say an EQ knob, you mean an EQ knob on the repeats?
Yeah, a tone knob on the repeats.
Okay.
George Phipps is sat in his office at this moment going...
To get a Bucket Brigade delay to sound bright, I mean, doing a warm analog delay is relatively simple. Getting a bright analog delay is much, much more difficult. I had this conversation with Analog Man about doing the delays. With a brighter sound, it becomes a level of noise, yeah? And to get that clarity through in the repeats, but to keep the noise level down is difficult, which is why making them warmer is easier. Easier, yeah? So I think what they've done here, I mean, obviously they've taken off a little bit of the bottom end on the repeats. Yeah. But so the way a Bucket Brigade works, it's an analog sampling thing, okay? And it samples the delay, and then, like, imagine pouring water into a bucket. It takes that sample, puts it into the next one, and then the next one, and that's how you get the time.
Yep.
Okay. And to keep that sample clear without adding noise, that's the hard bit.
Yeah.
So I think they've made it a little bit brighter, but also by taking away a little bit of that bottom end, it also helps that clarity.
Yeah, because the other obvious question is, well, if you don't want a dark delay, just buy a digital delay or a tape simulation. But it's not going all the way to something like a pristine sounding digital delay. It's sitting somewhere in between what we know about those lovely old like Ibanez and Boss analog delay pedals, and indeed the Carbon Copy, a modern version thereof. Just a little bit brighter. I mean,
there's not a huge amount in it.
No, but I prefer it. I had a Carbon Copy. I actually gave it to my mate Eki, and I've never felt the need to get another one, but I actually quite like that.
Right.
Let me. Can I have a quick shufti?
Yes.
I will just quick do some more A/B, and then maybe we can move on to comparing to some other delay pedals.
I think that's a fine suggestion.
How about that?
Yep.
Right, what we got?
Okay, so let's run through them. Actually, so let's go from this is the new bright version. Hear how the repeats sit on top of that sound as opposed to the older, darker version. Because there's a lot more of the original frequency in the old, of the repeats in the old version, whereas this sort of shelves that, and it sort of the repeats poke their head through a little bit more.
Yes, I like it. I have to say, if I had to choose, I would choose the bright one.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I have delays that do that. I personally, I kind of like the old one.
We should also say that you'll see two blue LEDs on there. There's a modulation function, and in the back you can alter the speed and depth of the modulation as well.
Yeah.
So it seems entirely right to have modulation on an analog delay, doesn't it? Should we just try it without the modulations on?
Absolutely. Yep.
So which one's this?
So this is the new one. So modulation is meant to replicate the old tape delays. What they found with the old tape delays, because the tape is an imperfect thing that speeds up and slows down, and the repeats moved around, but it just with the guitar, it just sounds so good.
It's ace, isn't it? Because when you play chords and stuff, you just get that
Little bit of movement.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So I think the fact that they've been able to put the modulation in on these it's what sets them apart from other standard analog delays. Really, really great. But let's now compare these to an original Memory Man, and then the TimeLine. I've got that set up on their bucket brigade simulation, and see how close we can get. So this is the Memory Man, maximum delay, a little bit of modulation again. So we'll go from the Bright, the MXR. Now to the Memory Man.
Feels quite different in the attack.
So now, if we do that same thing, just do a skank with the Memory Man, a lot more of the note. It still has the top end frequencies in there, but it extends the bottom end.
The Memory Man seems more like the old Carbon Copy in terms of its darker.
It has the old Carbon Copy bottom end, but it has a lot more top end. So if
so it's kind of got both.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do now?
So I'm going to go between the old Carbon Copy and the Memory Man.
Okay. Interesting.
So the Carbon Copy has a lot more pronounced mid-range in the repeats as well. I think the Memory Man is a lot truer to the original signal. Now let's have a look at the TimeLine version of the sort of set up to sound vaguely similar. TimeLine, Memory Man. That's special. That's a special thing, all right? And they're all great.
We've got a little bit more. We've got a little bit more repeat going on the MXRs, I think.
Okay. Same thing with a bit of El Grunjo. Okay, so this is the TimeLine with the King of Tone. Memory Man. The Bright Carbon Copy. The original.
Interesting. Hats off to Strymon.
It's good, isn't it?
It's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of all of them, it's the one with the kind of most presence, should I say? It kind of, I'm trying not to say it sounds digital because my brain is telling me that. There's no basis in fact for that, but it does have. Just go between the Bright and the TimeLine. Can we do that?
Yep.
God, there's not much in it, is there?
Yeah, not a great deal. I think there's a real pronounced mid-range in the repeats of the MXR, which is what keeps it floating above the original, with the the original signal. But
so TimeLine, obviously, if you want ultimate programmability and all the rest of it. And
well, when we did the Andy Timmons video, now he and his old rig, 2 Memory Man, set up slightly differently. Had to have a different time repeat. But because of the predisposition they have to breaking down, so he's set up a really close simulation on the TimeLine.
On TimeLine, yeah.
And it sounds fantastic.
Plus the other 58 million delay sounds that it does, of course. Pristine digital delays.
That stuff. So for that flexibility, if you're really into delays, awesome.
Yeah, no
The thing about the MXRs that I love, and I've seen a lot of the younger bands that we look after have them on their boards.
Yeah.
And they use them for those crazy regeneration set to maximum sounds, Fantastic for that. It's not a great deal of money to have some really wonderful old analog delays. I mean, I'm talking about the regeneration thing?
Yeah, where it's self-oscillation, you mean?
Exactly. So let's...
Just do that exact same thing with the other one.
Did you hear the bottom end though on the other one? Because that bottom end and the repeats are still there. So
very cool. Could you do that on the Memory Man?
Yes,
Will
I
it
can.
do that?
Oh, you're kidding? Like nothing else.
Awesome.
It's just the best thing in the world. A lot of guys buy them just for those effects.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Great. Shall we see if we can make the TimeLine do it?
Really?
Let's have a go. It's a little bit different.
Great.
Analog delay.
Okay. Wait. I want to be in like Dan Auerbach's band at this time.
We had a guy write in the comment section. We were doing the first one we ever did about the Strymon digital reverb, which is a great thing. And he said that he just couldn't get on with digital because it had no mystery to it. And I thought, the mystery that I have with a lot of my old analog stuff is whether or not it's going to actually work. But I thought it was a really interesting comment because, the old analog devices, they do have a certain something, and it's not just in the affected sound, it's the way they affect the direct sound. The preamp and the Memory Man, it does something to the sound.
Echoplex.
The Echoplex. So people, the EP booster, that is the preamp of the Echoplex.
Yeah.
And they sell it because it does something to the sound. Now, one of the things about the old bucket brigade devices is the length of the delay. So we have, at the moment, we have the Memory Man completely maxed out. That's the maximum delay time.
And what do we think that is? About 350 milliseconds or
That's,
something?
yes, 330-ish. Now, one thing that's really fantastic about the MXR pedals, if we go to the Bright one,
Twice as long, 600 milliseconds, isn't it?
do you hear those little artifacty things coming in there? Because as you lengthen the delay, it's harder, you know, to keep those. Whereas,
Well, do it on the original one, because that's going to be even crunchier.
now if we shorten that again, interesting.
Whereas the timeline, what's that got? Like,
Oh,
like 10 seconds or something?
800 milliseconds on the analog. But if you go to the digital,
Yeah. for
it
days.
just goes
Yeah.
forever.
You could go away and have a bite, to quote a famous...
But anyway, I like it, the new Bright version, but I still like the old version as well. Dive bomb! Ah!
Okay.
there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.